In the playlist Meet the Scientist, we're introducing a couple of scientists to you that we work with or that are based at Newcastle University. So I thought it probably is a good idea to make a video about myself as well. So I am Marloes Peeters and I'm a senior lecturer at Newcastle University, and I lead a research group there that is focused on bio-inspired materials. So my research is all about sensors, and we take inspiration from nature in order to develop those sensors. So what it means is that we look at natural recognition elements. So we look at, for instance, the enzymes and the antibodies that we have in our body. And we look at the structure of it and we try and mimic this using synthetic alternatives. And at the moment we're mainly focused on polymers, and working with these polymers has several advantages. So they're very low cost, so they're robust. So it means they can withstand extremes of temperature, so very harsh environments, and you can mass produce them. And the projects that we have vary for detection of a number of different molecules. So we look at very small molecules, such as, for instance, antibiotics that are linked to antimicrobial resistance. We can look at micropollutants. We can look at biomarkers, such as cardiac biomarkers that indicate that you're at risk of a heart attack, but then also larger molecules, so even looking at bacteria and whole cells. So I started working with these polymers during my PhD. So there's a clear link between the work that I do and now within my own group and my PhD. But what I would say during my PhD was mainly focused on the sensing aspect. So it was looking at developing new ways of how you could actually detect when things are binding to the polymers. Whereas now I go back to the chemistry behind it and see how can we make these polymers perform better. So how can we produce them in big quantities, but how can we make them more selective towards the targets that we want to detect? And the good thing about this is that it still enables me to work together with my PhD supervisor at KU Leuven, Professor Prof Wagner, but also with other people that I worked with during my PhD. During my master's, I had a good trial in the sense of that I did a 9-month research project. So 9 months was really enough for me to get a flavor of what research is really like. So both the ups and the downs that go with it. Now, after that, I was convinced I wanted to work in R&D. So it meant that I applied for a couple of jobs in industry as well, but I soon realized that if I wanted to lead my own research projects, then I would have to do a PhD first. And this is when I started looking for PhD projects. And what I particularly liked about my own PhD project is that there was a clear application for what I wanted to do. So it was working together with a hospital, so it had some real life impact associated with it. And it was very multidisciplinary, so it had both elements of chemistry, engineering, and some physics. And because of my job, I've lived in several places. I'm from the Netherlands, so obviously I lived there, but then during my PhD I was in Belgium, and then I also did like a short research internship in Brazil. Now, when I moved to the UK 7 years ago, I first started off in London, and then I moved to Manchester, and then I went to Newcastle. So slowly I worked my way up north, and I went from a bigger city to somewhat a smaller city. What I like about Newcastle is that it's got everything a big city can offer. So all the excitement and all the buzz in town, but everything is within walking distance. And what's good about it as well is that it's close to the coast, so you can go to the beach when you want. And there's also a lot of national parks around. So there's both the nice mix of having these outdoors activities and a buzzing town centre. I am a member of the running club, the Timebridge Harriers in Newcastle, so obviously I like running, but I'm still yet to run a marathon. I also like other sports, like for instance swimming and cycling, and I used to play chess. Now, in my downtime, I also really enjoy reading, so not scientific articles, but preferably detectives when I have a chance. And traveling is something that used to be some of the perks of my job, so I do really hope that once things open up, that I can go traveling again. There's much more to plastic than just the bags that we have that we do when we go for our shopping. So our clothes tend to be plastics. I've got contact lenses that are plastic. So plastics are all around us and we can't live without them anymore. But what we need to think about is how we use them. So thinking about how people are now looking at reducing their carbon footprint, should we do the same with plastics? So new technologies and recycling are parts of the answer, but we also need to critically look at our own behavior. And I think the work within my group is really nice in the sense that we can show that we use plastics for something to actually promote animal welfare. So I definitely would say it's all about how the plastics are used. So hopefully you'll enjoy these other videos in this playlist, and would you be interested in participating in this? If that's the case, then please do get in touch with me.